Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting Summertime Cheers and I'm sipping on some ginger lemon tea, and if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel and that you also check out my Patreon page where you can find additional painting perks such as this one. So the painting that I did today is actually inspired by a photo that was submitted by one of my Patreon members by the name of Kimberly Lalonde. I have a benefit from my Patreons where they get to submit photos every now and again, and I will select some of them to turn into YouTube tutorials. And as a special thanks for the person who submitted the photo, I will send her or that person the original painting. So I hope she likes it. So if you're interested in learning how you could submit your photos or learn more about the Patreon membership program, I do have all of that information down below. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along with me, you could certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, ultramarine blue, Mars black, fire red, and chrome yellow. And of course you can switch those up as well. For my tools, I have a white piece of chalk that I'm going to be using for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush. I have a number 2 bright synthetic brush. And I have a number 4 round synthetic brush. And I will just call these out as I use them. Sometimes I say small, medium, and large. I might call this in the large one, but these two, you know, I'll just call them out as I use them. And of course you can switch those up as well. If you're painting along with me, you'll probably want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as a paper towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I will be providing you with a few additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link to my shop, where you could purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, including the same kind of canvas to the paints to the brushes. You can also, in my shop, purchase things individually, like my brushes from the brush line. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to paint a base coat for our sky and our water. I'm going to use my large bristle brush to paint, but I'm going to use my round brush to pre-mix 2 custom colors. So I'm going to be using blue, black, white, and red in this step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a light bluish gray color for the top of my sky. I'm going to fade it down a little bit lighter in the middle, and then down at the bottom I'm going to use a little bit of red to start my sunset colors. And then my water, I'm going to pre-mix myself a dark blue color, and I'm going to start the top of the water with the dark blue, and then we'll create a little bit of a gradient down towards the bottom of the canvas to start the color gradient of the water. So I have pre-mixed myself my 2 custom colors on my palette here. This color right here is going to be my light blue. It's very much steered towards a cool gray. So how I got to this is blue, white, and just a touch of black. So the black and white is going to make gray, and then the blue is going to turn it really nice and cool. So it's going to be a nice cool light gray. I need a little bit more, or like a grayish light blue. So it's either a cool light gray or a grayish light blue, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to call it light blue for the simplicity purposes of this video. So that's good for me on that color. So the next color I'm going to go for is a darker blue. So that's going to be my dark blue right there. I just need to wash and dry my mixing tool. So my dark blue, I'm doing the same color combination, black, blue, and white, but it's going to be mostly blue, a touch of black. The black will very easily turn it black quickly, so just a touch of black and just a touch of white. The white's going to help with opacity, and the black is going to turn it darker. So this is where I'm headed. It's a really nice dark kind of grayish blue. I'm going to put it in this area so you can kind of really, I'm thinning it out so you can really see the color of it. Sometimes when it's concentrated it looks darker, so that's the color I'm headed for. So once I've got that, I'm going to put my mixing tool away. I'm going to take out my large brush. I'm going to take my light blue color and I'm going to make 2 dots at the horizon line, how far down I want my sky to go. So what you can do is find yourself about halfway up or down this left-hand side, and then you're going to go about halfway between that and the bottom of your canvas. So for me, that's somewhere in this vicinity, and then I'm almost about an inch above that. So that's going to be just my first marker. That'll tell me how far down to go on my sky, and what I can do is I can measure how high up I did this on this side, and I go to the other side and make myself a corresponding mark that will stop me on that side. So those are just visual stopping points for me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my light blue color and I'm going to start at the top of my sky with this color. I'm just using a left to right type of brush stroke. This color is going to cover very well, so you don't really need to be concerned about doing a second coat or anything like that. We are also going to be putting a lot of atmospheric dimension on top of our sky, so that will help with any potential unfinished spots. So once I get about halfway down my sky, which is kind of closing in on where I am right now, I'm going to start picking up white paint. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a little bit lighter of an area as it's going down that sky towards the horizon. So now I'm gonna, without washing my brush, I'm picking up white paint and I'm mixing it, blending it on the canvas with that bottom edge of the light blue. So something like that is gonna get that nice and blended. And again, doesn't have to be perfect. This whole area is gonna be covered with clouds. I just wanna get not all, but a good amount of that blue off of my brush before I reach my horizon line. I do want it to still have a little bit of that light blue in there. I don't necessarily need it or want it to go all the way white, but I just kind of keep picking up my white as I go down towards that horizon line. And then once I get pretty darn close to that horizon line, I'm going to pick up red and put red at the bottom of my horizon. So I'm pretty darn close. So without washing my brush, I'm going to pick up red. And because I'm not washing my brush, it's going to end up a little pinkish. So I'm just going right straight across from dot to dot, something like this. And then if you have a ton of paint on your brush right now, like I have a big spot right here. If you have a ton of paint, just give it a little squeeze on your paper towel, and then you can take the remnants of your brush and just kind of blend it up a little bit. So you don't have to do it, a perfect blend or anything like that. This is, again, just kind of getting us started, giving us a little boost for those sunset colors down underneath where we're going to put the clouds and stuff. So that's looking good in through there. I'm going to just put a tiny touch of water on my brush. I have a little dry spot here, but I don't want to add more paint to my brush, so I just added a little water to my brush. That'll help me blend it just a little bit more. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to wash my brush and I'm going to create the first layer of my water. But first, I can't stop my sky. Just painting out any really thick spots that I had. Okay, I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And my water, I'm going to start with that dark blue color. And then as I come down towards the bottom of my water, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to pick up my light blue or white. So I'm just going to start with my dark blue first. And I'm going to go swiftly across. You can certainly use any tool that is comfortable to you to get a straight horizon. You could certainly mask it off with masking tape. You could draw it. You can really kind of do whatever is comfortable to you. I'm noticing I kind of missed a little bit of a spot with my red, so I have a choice. I can either bring my horizon up a little bit, or, oh, my horizon's even crooked. Hold on one second. Let's remeasure this. I've got this right to here, and then let me just remeasure this over on this side. Oh, they look about the same. Maybe I'm just, maybe painting from the side here, I'm seeing it a little bit differently. But we have lots of additional steps that are going to allow us corrections on this horizon line. So that's where I'm starting with that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up more of that dark blue color just to get myself a little bit more distance for this dark color in through here. I am going to pick up my light blue next as opposed to going into the white, and this will give me a good transition as I go down towards the bottom of my canvas, picking up a little bit more of my dark blue. That went a little bit too light, too quick on me. So I want there to be a gradient. I want to be able to see the difference between the top of the water versus the bottom of the water, but I don't necessarily need it to be super different. I don't need it to go all the way white down to the bottom. So I am going to pick up just more of my light blue as I work my way towards that bottom of my water. And again, just kind of using a left to right brush stroke. I don't need a perfect blend at this point. We're going to be adding little ripples to our water and stuff as we go through that process. So don't worry about it being perfect. And then once you've got this done, just add a little bit more dark blue up and through here. Once you've got this done, we are going to be using the same brush for the next step. So you can wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint some clouds. I'm using my large bristle brush. The colors that I'm going to use are white, yellow, red, and my dark blue. And what I'm going to do, I am going to make a couple of custom colors so we can have a really light base to a lot of these top clouds. Oh, I might use my light blue too, because the light blue will be in any little areas that need some finessing of the sky. So I'm going to pre-mix a light yellow color in order to get a lot of these clouds in a nice formation. And I'm also going to be pre-mixing myself a dark, like I would call it like a lavender type of a color that we're going to be using for the clouds that are just sitting at the bottom of the sky, right at the horizon line. They seem pretty dark, which is really cool. And then I'm going to make an orange as well, so we can add some orange hues to the sky. So I'm going to pre-mix my colors first, and then we'll get into painting. I have magically pre-mixed them on my canvas, or on my palette, so you can see where I'm headed. The first one I did here was my light yellow. So how I got to this is mostly white and just a touch of yellow, just a teeny tiny touch to bring it into a light yellow color. And for me, my chrome yellow is very, very like lemony kind of yellow, and that's too yellow for what I wanted, because I know it's going to be on top of a light blue sky and it might end up a little green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a touch of red paint into it, just a teeny tiny touch, to give me almost like a light, I don't want to call it peach. It still is steered towards yellow, but it is definitely not a yellow that steers towards green easily. So I just added that teeny tiny touch of red to it in order to get it to counterbalance what's going to happen when it goes on top of a blue background. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush. The next color that I'm going to create is my lavender color that we'll use at the bottom of the sky. So this is it right in through here. How I got to this was a little bit of my dark blue. Blue and red makes purple. So I'm going to use a touch of red and a touch of white. So this is going to create this nice kind of neutral lavender color. And if yours seems a little too pink or a little too purple, because mine is a little on the close to a brown type of a side. So if I just added the yellow and the blue, it's almost too purpley for me. So you can add just a tiny touch of yellow as well in order to almost neutralize it a little bit and bring it more towards like a, it's still on the lavender side, but it's not so purpley. So this is where I'm headed with this. So it's a very natural type of a color. I'm gonna wash and dry my brush. And the next color I'm going for is orange. So all I need to do for this one, I've pre-mixed it right in through here, is I'm gonna take a little bit of red, just move this over here so you can see, and add some chrome yellow to it. The red is more powerful than the yellow, so you'll use more yellow than red, and just get it somewhere in this mid-orange tone, and those are the colors that I'm going to be using. So once I've got that done, I can put my mixing tool away. I'm going to take out my large bristle brush, and I'm going to start with those big, huge light clouds with my light yellow color. So they're everywhere, and I want to really establish kind of a nice big footprint for them. So the lighter ones are definitely up towards the top. I'm going to start over here on this left hand side. I'm using a good amount of paint right now, and then as I go towards what are going to be the little corners of the clouds, I'm going to just use the corner of my brush and give myself these really faint little marks. I'm going to be putting white on top of them in a little bit. I just really wanted to kind of have this soft yellowish hue behind them, so when I do put the white on them, they have a wonderful luminescent value to them. So just kind of bringing this over in through here, just trying to be pretty similar to the cloud formation that I'm seeing in the photo reference that I'm using. You don't have to put yours exactly in the same places, and then I'm just going to kind of bring this down and kind of butt it into my red that I have down at the bottom. And because I have a lighter base underneath here, this yellow is going to look different down here than it does up there. So just little mindful thoughts to share with you as I go in through this center. In the photo, I am seeing some spots of the sky peeking through. So I'm just going to kind of start down here at the bottom where I see the yellow is pretty heavy down in through here. I'm going to continue to pick up my light yellow. I will use my orange and the other colors in a little bit, but right now just kind of want to get the large formation of these clouds on here so I understand where I want them to go and all that good stuff. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go, let's see, there's one here. There's a huge one that kind of shoots over in that direction. It's going to be a fun one. Let's do it. So it's coming somewhere in this direction. I'm going to put more of this in through here because this is going to have some nice brightness. I think I can just put some of that sky blue back on here later if I feel I need to enhance any of these little peekaboo spots. And again, just a little bit of that light yellow. Right now, I've got this one that kind of shoots up into here, and then it's way off. I love following cloud formations because there's no two alike, and I can never in my head, like if I want to create a cloud formation on my own, I can never get it as cool looking as it is in a photo. I don't know. My brain just doesn't tell me, just put a single one way over there and it'll look great. So when I follow photos, I'm like, why is that over there? But it looks fantastic over there. So that's my start with that light yellow. That's pretty good to me. I'm now going to pick up some of that orange color. So just a little bit of orange on my brush to get this just to fade down into that red a little bit, something like this. And this just gets it to fade in a nice natural way in through here. Oops, I just picked up something else on my brush. I'm just gonna rub that in and pretend like it never happened. So something like that, that gives me a nice natural way to get down to the bottom. Now I'm gonna wash and dry my brush because I wanna start adding that lavender color on. So I'm washing and drying my brush. And I'm, again, just gonna kind of watch the photo, but I am giving my brush a good kind of squeeze out on the paper towel so I don't have a ton of moisture on it. And I'm going to put this color right on the tip of it because there's a couple of little clouds that are more slender down at the horizon line. So I've got this lavender color. This is where I can help to clean up that horizon line. And we have our final water step that will help also to clean up the horizon line. So I'm just kind of bumping into that water right now. And I'm going to bring this up as far as I see it kind of coming up into these areas over in through here. It's coming in through here. And there's little peekaboo spots of the sunset behind it. And again, I can certainly tweak it. We've got our sun, which we're going to be putting the sun on in a little bit. We come over here and get this guy over, I think we're somewhere in this vicinity, maybe a little higher, somewhere in through here. And then again, just kind of bringing this right down to that horizon. There's going to be a beautiful red spot where the sun is, and then thinking the sun is going to be somewhere right in through here. So I'm going to leave a little bit of that red poking through behind. And you can see the red is still evident underneath this lavender color, which is awesome. I think it comes up just a little bit further up in through here. And again, I'm just trying to follow a similar formation as I'm seeing in the photo. You don't have to follow every single little cloud as I'm attempting to follow, but if you want to, it makes for a nice fun way to explore your skill set and kind of adapt those the way that you see things and see if you can kind of mimic it. But no reason to if you're digging how yours is coming out in a different way. I feel like there's a couple more little ones that are scooting in through here. And again, I will also add, we've got a little bit more work to go up top. I'm thinking that that's pretty good for the dark clouds. Let me just wipe my brush off. I feel like maybe just a little hint of them in through here. So what I just did here is I just wiped my brush off so I can use the remnants on my brush to get a couple of darker spots within the light yellow that I have already. So I could also put a tiny bit of water on my brush, provided my yellow is dry, and it's pretty dry for me right now. So I just put a teeny tiny bit of water on my brush, and I can use these little remnants on my brush to just kind of dabble in a couple little darker areas. I could certainly go into my sky blue, which I think I'm going to do that as well, but I'm feeling like this is working out pretty well for me with these with the remnants that are on my brush right now to get these little kind of streaky dark areas that I'm seeing throughout that cloud formation. That looks pretty good. Before I start hitting the white, I do feel like I want to pull some of that sky blue a little bit. So I'm not going to wash my brush. I just picked up a little bit more of that sky blue. I feel like this is a little too light in through here. So I just picked up sky blue on my dirty brush. So I'm just kind of deepening the tones in this sky a little bit in through here, putting a little bit of water on my brush, and then just kind of getting this to go just a smudge darker in through here. I don't necessarily want it to go too dark, but I'm picking up some more of my sky blue. But I definitely felt that it was a little bit too light in through there, so that's what it was. My painterly brain told me just add a little bit of that lavender. Well, I feel like maybe just a little bit, and the sky blue. So this is lavender plus a little bit of the sky blue, and then I can keep picking up the sky blue to make sure that I have a full coverage everywhere that's going to be exposed in that sky. So I feel like I've got a couple of unfinished areas. So I'm just making sure I'm doing a quick pass. I had a little bit too much water on my brush right in through here, so it's streaking a little bit, but we'll correct that when I put that edge of that cloud on. This is looking so pretty. I kind of wish I was there right now, just in a nice sunsetty kind of place, clinking my glass with a loved one. There we go. And again, I'm just using the remnants on my brush to make sure that I've got a nice coverage up in through here. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to put my I guess I want a little bit more here too. I'm going to put some highlights on these clouds. So just make sure I've got nice, as this is drying, I can keep kind of maneuvering my brush a little bit to get it to be nice and soft. There we go. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush if I can ever stop this. I love working with remnants on my brush. They just add those soft layers and make it look good to me. So I'm washing and drying my brush. And now I'm going to pick up white paint and I'm going to put my light spots in those clouds. And if I feel I need to advance that or elevate the lightness to them, I will certainly do that. But just washing and drying my brush, picking up a teeny tiny bit of white paint. I don't want to take away everything that I just did. So I'm going to do this very minimally. And I feel like we've got some light clouds up in through here. So I'm just going to kind of start adding these little soft light tones. And because I have that yellow underneath, this is going to provide me this great luminescent value to these clouds. You could certainly make yours really super white and have them floating by as if it's, you know, almost daylight. However, we've got kind of a sunset scenery going, so having these with these little additional tones behind them helps to kind of sell that story. So I've got just that little remnant of white on my brush. I'm picking up just a touch more white. I feel like there's a lot of brightness kind of in the center of the canvas, maybe somewhere in through here. There's a bunch of brightness on this, as if I feel like this was probably a darker cloud, and then this is this little back cloud here is being lit up by the sun behind it. So again, sometimes when you're watching photos or you're trying to emulate what's happening in the photo, it's, in my opinion, sometimes you just got to trust the photo. You know, it may not make 100% sense to you, but as you're going through it, just kind of trust what you're seeing, because that's what's happening in nature. It's going to have these variations that you might not have thought of as the painter creating the design. So when I'm going through these photos, it's just, I have to trust what I'm seeing, even if to me it doesn't make all the sense in the world. I just trust it, because it knows, the photo knows better than I do. So as I go through it, you know, those are the things that I'm saying to myself in my head. Just believe what the photo is telling you is accurate, and you'll probably come out with something that is very realistic in appearance. So that's looking pretty good to me. I am gonna hop on some bright yellow in a second as well. Some of the chrome yellow. I feel like this is looking pretty good. Maybe just a little extra brightness in through here before I pop some chrome. I can put chrome yellow on top of these light spots that I'm doing. So I know that I have the ability to do that. So I might do that in a minute as well, just to get these to be even lighter and brighter. I'm digging that. That's looking so pretty. All right, so I'm going to just pick up a tiny bit of chrome yellow on my dirty brush to elevate some of these yellows in through here. So this is just chrome yellow on top of this stuff in through here. And you can see as soon as I put it on how much yellower it is. How much more yellow, I think that's the proper grammar for that one. How much more yellow it is than elsewhere. And I'm just watching my picture to see where these bright pops of chrome yellow are, and I feel like there's a little bit over in through here. And then I'm gonna let mine dry. I'm sure I might feel like there's some areas that could use a little bit more amping up or modification. Like I feel like I might put a little bit more white in through here. I want to make sure that where I'm going to put my glasses, that this is positioned properly, which I'm thinking it's pretty good. So that I think is all I'm going to be doing for this step. I'm washing my drying brush. I'm putting a tiny bit more white on it. So I'm going to be using this, I'm going to use this same brush for the next step. So once you've got your beautiful clouds done, know that we've got a set of glasses coming in front of it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish our water. I'm using my large bristle brush. The colors that I'm going to use are dark blue, light blue, probably that plum color, white, and maybe some of my light yellow, and maybe a touch of red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some ripples and waves, clean up my horizon line to the best of what I think I need to, and then we're going to add little shimmers of glow from the colors in the sky. So I'm going to start with my dark blue color. I'm going to put a tiny bit of water on my brush as well, so I have a little bit of fluidity in my brush. So I'm going to clean up my horizon line, but I don't need it to be super crisp. I kind of want it to be a little out of focus, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a soft edge to it. And again, I just am kind of going swiftly across like this, just kind of bumping it up to my skyline in through here. So again, it's there, but it doesn't have to be super crisp. I probably brought it up just a little bit too high in through there. And again, this is one of those things you could certainly use a ruler. I tend to just kind of go for it, but that's not for everybody. So if you wanted to, certainly you could do that. Yeah, I think we just don't want it looking like we're on a ship. On this side over here in the photograph, it is a little bit very muted in through here. So I'm actually going to pick up a little bit of that plum color as well. So I'm just kind of getting it to almost blend right in with that sky in that area in through there. That looks pretty good. And of course you could, water on your brush. Just be careful of having too much water on your brush because it will, it could lift that paint right off. But I'm thinking that that's good enough for now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of strategic dark areas within the water for ripple purposes. So I'm going to pick up a little bit more of my dark blue. And I see a couple of distinct dark areas somewhere around here on the photo. So I'm just going to kind of loosely go back and forth, left to right. I've got some in through here, but that top is already pretty dark for me. So I need to add actual lightness up in through here to show these darker marks. There's a couple in through here, but I've already got that identified. We've got a couple up in through here, and somewhere in through here there's a couple of darker areas. So again, I don't need to go one for one with all the dark areas, but I do definitely want to represent some little ripples. I'm putting a tiny bit of water on my brush with my dark blue. I have some skinnier ones that are kind of down into the narrower, or the part closer to the viewer down in through here. So this is the dark blue plus a touch of water on my brush, and it's allowing me to get these skinnier kind of gentler waves as they're just kind of coming into closer to the viewer range. I'm just using kind of the corner of my brush right now with a little bit of water on my brush and that dark blue in order to give me just these smaller type of, not necessarily smaller, but more identified type of ripples as it's coming in towards the viewer, just so we can have that contrast in the water. So it definitely looks like it's moving. It's got some ripples in it, and it's showing the movement of the water. So that looks pretty good to me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding some little highlights, which are going to be the lighter areas that I see in the photo. So I do definitely already have a lot of them from my light blue that we did on that first round. Now I'm going to, without washing my brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of light blue and dark blue. And to show the ripples off in the distance, I'm going to do, I just keep dabbing my brush off on my paper towel. I'm actually going to do kind of a little bit of a stippling type of effect way off in the distance. So this is going to make the ripples far away look far away, because I'm in essence giving you that appearance of them at a distance with this tiny brush stroke that I'm using, which is just stippling. So I'm just kind of taking that light blue and dark blue and creating this little stipple effect off in the distance, so that it makes it look like those waves that we see big down here are doing the same, are just small in the distance. I feel like where my sun is going to be, there's going to be lighter area in through here, so I'm going to put a little bit heavier with that lightness in through there. And again, this is just kind of my illusion that I'm creating with the little tiny speckles of my light blue and my dark blue. And then as I come towards the viewer, instead of dotting, I can start to use kind of a left to right type of brush stroke. Again, I haven't changed the color on my brush. I'm probably going to start picking up just my light blue at this point on my dirty brush. So just a little bit of my light blue just to get these a little bit lighter, especially in through here. So again, speckles up towards the horizon, and then as it's coming towards the viewer, more left to right. Just a transition from one to the other will give you a more natural effect. So you don't just necessarily want to go from speckles to long brush strokes. Just if you can transition them, that's what's going to make it look a little bit more natural. Again, I just keep picking up my light blue at this point, getting these lighter areas in through here. Well, that was a little bit too much, so just wipe my brush off. Good thing I was in that center area. It'll end up a little bit darker anyways. The hands are going to be covering some of this as well, so just kind of using my light blue, keep tapping it off on my paper towel so it's not too invasive, but I feel like there's quite a bit of light stuff over in through here, like that. And again, just a transition from the dark to the light, and then as you're coming towards the viewer, you can get more longer brush strokes, and not necessarily just left to right. A little bit of a wiggle will make it look a little bit more natural as opposed to just super straight across. So that's looking pretty good in through there. Just going to bring this a little bit more up in through here. And if this brush was too big, obviously you could switch to a smaller brush. I'm going to put a little bit of water on my brush just so I can get a little bit more smoother brush strokes. You could even use that small bright brush, but I'm going to in a minute start adding some additional colors to this, so it ends up looking like especially this center area ends up looking like there is some reflections or the hue of those sky colors in it. I just kind of keep lightening up this center area a little bit in through here, and of course you can. I'm thinking that that's looking pretty good. Let me just get this area just a smudge lighter in through here, and just kind of tapping with my remnant. Oh, that's a little bit too light. Pulling back a little bit of the dark blue just to get, I wanted this a little bit lighter, but not too light. And that dark base up top is definitely what's helping to give this dimension in the water in through here. So there we go. That's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to start adding some of the reflective colors from the sky, and that's going to be with the with that lavender color, with the sunset colors, and that's what's going to bring it. Oh, that looks pretty. Okay, so I don't want to overload it, so I'm washing and drying my brush. I just want to be pretty cautious when I do this. Make sure that your canvas is pretty dry. I didn't use a lot of paint, so my paint's pretty dry already. And I'm just gonna go really daintily. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of my that plum type of color plus white, just a itty bitty bit on my brush. I don't need a lot, just a itty bitty bit, and I can start adding these little hues of this in the water. So again, this is the plum plus a tiny bit, and or lavender, sorry, it's not plum, it's lavender-ish. Just a little tiny bit on my brush, just allowing for the warmth of those sun colors to almost add a glaze on top of here. So I have a tiny bit of water on my brush with those colors, which is my lavender plus a little bit of white. And then as I come towards this center area, I can start adding maybe, I don't know if I said I was going to use orange, but maybe a tiny touch of orange plus white. Wipe it off on my paper towel and just kind of dabble it in a little bit in through here. I feel like I want a tiny bit of red too. So just a itty bit of red. My paper towel is super wet right now. So when I do this, I'm actually adding a little bit of moisture to my brush. And then I'm going to just kind of put this red up at the top. Ooh, I want a little more than that. I was a little bit too cautious on that one. Yeah, there we go. So it's just a little bit of a glow on top of my water. And then once you've got this done, I would definitely recommend letting it dry. See if you want to amp it up anymore. You might want yours lighter, or you might want to add more of these hues throughout the water. And then once you've got that done, we are going to use our small round brush for the next step. So you can put this large brush away, take out a small round brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the sun. I'm using my small brush, or my number 4 round. The colors I'm using are definitely white, yellow, red, and I might pull in some of that lavender color as well to scoot some of the clouds around it. So I'm going to have my sun is placed at the base of the glasses. So you could certainly put your glasses wherever you want them to be, but the photo reference I'm using is the right glass is kind of dead center and the left glass kind of overlaps it. So for me, I'm going to have my sun, if this is the center of my horizon line, I'm having my sun maybe about 1.5 inches to 2 inches to the left of that. So I'm going to start with a tiny bit of white paint on my brush, and I'm just going to put my sun in place. So there's a little bit of it kind of, I think the nucleus of the sun is kind of like right in here, but it's kind of dropped behind some clouds. So it's not a perfect circle in this picture. So I'm just going to kind of put these bright areas on where I feel that they are appropriate to put. And again, just kind of trying to mimic the photo the best that I can. So I've got somewhere in through here is where I've got a pretty light spot, and then there's like a little dark cloud that goes across it, but the sun is definitely carries the light away from it. So if I put my brightest spot in through here, I definitely want it to kind of glow on those neighboring clouds. So I've got, again, if this is the sun, I can just kind of rub this out into the sky next to it. So I don't need to do much because, again, a lot of this is clouds down by the horizon, and the sun is just kind of barely peeking through as it's sinking right into that sunset. So again, just kind of allowing for a little bit of glow along the edges of it, making that center of it pretty darn bright. And then once I've got it positioned where I want, I'm looking at the neighboring areas. Do I want above here to be more yellow or brighter above this little cloud in through here? You might not have the same position clouds as I do. You can always add more clouds if you want to. I'm just positioning mine similarly to how they are in the photo. However, you can put yours wherever you want. I'm lightening the sky next to here. I think I'm going to put a little bit more yellow in these areas before I'm done. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to let the center of that sun kind of dry for a minute while I work on the rest. I'm going to pick up some of that lavender color. I just wipe my brush off on my paper towel, picking up a little bit of that lavender color, just kind of amping up this little cloud in through here as if it's really just scooting across that sky right in front of that beautiful sunset, picking up a little bit more of this lavender color, just amping up just a little bit in through here. Again, I'm just kind of mimicking what I'm seeing in the picture, but you could make it into whatever you want. That looks pretty good to me. I'm washing and drying my brush. I want to put a little bit more white in the center of that sun. So just making sure my brush is pretty darn dry, and I just picked up more white paint. And because we have a dark base, I have red behind here. It might take me a couple of layers, which is what you're seeing now, to get this center as white as I want it. And then once I've got it as you know, achieve that brightness, I can make it look even brighter by amping up the contrast next to it with bright colors. So what I mean by that is on the left and the right of where I've got the main brightness of the sun, I'm leaving soft edges and I'm going to overlap bright yellow on top of them. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to just wipe my brush off. I'm picking up some of my chrome yellow now. And this is what I was talking about. So in through here, I can just kind of add a little bit of chrome yellow on these sections that are next to it. And that's going to make that center of the sun really pop out and look as bright as it can be. Like it's glowing onto these objects next to it. You could even take a little bit of red and or your orange and put, I don't want my orange. I don't want orange. I'm going to put red. I'm wiping my brush off because I put the orange on. So I'm picking up a tiny bit of red with a little bit of water. So in the photo, if I feel like there's a lot of kind of the glow of the red in the water right in through here. So if you felt that you needed to amp that up, feel free to do so. I'm picking up a little bit more of that lavender plus a touch of white on my dirty brush because I feel that there's just a itty bitty bit of extra stuff right in through here. And then that's about all I'm going to do for the sun. If you felt like you needed to, I just washed my brush again. If you felt that you needed to continue to amp this up in the center, feel free to do so. We're going to use our drawing utensil for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put this brush away, take out a drawing utensil, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be drawing an outline for our glasses and our hands. I'm using a piece of chalk. You could certainly use any drawing utensil that's comfortable to you. I do recommend that your canvas is dry before you start this step as well. So I'm going to guide you through a series of markers, and we're going to be drawing some very basic shapes. And by the time we're done, hopefully we'll have something that we'll be able to utilize during the painting process of coloring them in. I'm going to start with the glasses and then we'll move on to the hands. These are very similar size glasses, and what I'm going to do is I'm finding myself the center of my canvas, left to right, top to bottom. So for me, I've already kind of marked where my center of my canvas is just so you guys can see it. Let me just make a darker mark so you can really see it. There we go. So what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to come up about an inch and over about an inch. Make myself another marker. I'm going to be switching back and forth between different colored chalks so you guys can see. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left, or you can go right back up that inch way and over to the left about, I would say 2.5 to 2 3/4. So this is about 2 3/4 inches wide. You could make it bigger or smaller, whatever works for you. That's just similar in size to the photo. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these top two and connect them with a very slight arcing line. So something like that, just very, very slight. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend like I don't see this mark anymore, because that is just the center of my canvas and might confuse you. So if you just come to the center of these two now and come right down to your horizon line. Now let me switch chalk so you can see. So that would be right about in through here. This is going to mark like where the stem kind of starts. So I'm going to just make a little mark to the right and a little mark to the left. This is maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch wide total, nothing more than that. And then I'm going to connect this corner to here and this corner to the bottom. So I'm going to take it. It's fun when I have light and dark backgrounds for you guys to see. So just kind of take it straight down, and then you can curve it a little bit into that. And do the same thing on the other side. So take it straight down for a little while, and then just curve it back into that left marker in through there. And then I'm going to make another similar shape to the left of this. So how I can find where I want to start it, it's going to be just a little bit lower. So I can come down from here, maybe I would say about 1/2 of an inch or so, somewhere right about in through here, and then over to the right, just a little tiny bit, so they're overlapping just a little bit. And then I'm going to come to the left of that, the same distance that I did here. So you could take something like your paintbrush and measure what distance you did these two markers at, and do the same distance from this one to the left. So that way you have at least the tops of the glasses are similar in width. And then you can take this and just connect it with a slightly arcing line like that. And then I'm going to do something similar down to the bottom. However, this glass is a little bit lower than that glass. So I can take and just kind of find, you know, where that center is, and then just kind of come down. You could measure how far down you did this one, and then just do the same thing down here. So this one's a little bit more in the water is where that center spot is going to be. And then I'm going to just bring it a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and now I'm going to connect here to here and here to here. So this is just one of those methods for me to kind of get the lines symmetrical from one side to the other. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. One of these glasses could be tipped a little bit more, which I think it is in the photograph. So if yours isn't, you know, totally symmetrical from one side to the other, that's okay. This side is going to get hidden in the fog of the other glass too. So, you know, nothing needs to be perfect in my painting world anyways. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of mark where the stems are so I know where I can put my hands. So for this one in through here, I'm just going to come pretty much straight down like this until I'm maybe about an inch away from the edge of my canvas. And then I'm just going to give myself kind of a horizontal line. We'll make it look fancier when we go to paint it, but right now that's all I'm going to do. And then on hers, this is going to be the glass that the female is holding. I'm going to just bring it just down a little bit further than his, and then just kind of bring it out like this. This one doesn't even have to go this way because it's hidden behind her hand. I just wanted you to see where they kind of almost meet each other. So it looks like her glass is kind of farther away from the camera than his glass is, so his glass proportionate might be a little bit larger. So now that I've got that, I know where the hands need to go. I'm going to do hers first over here. Hers is a little bit smaller. I'm going to put her wrist on first. So her wrist is very narrow and she's holding the glass like this. So we're not going to see her thumb. We're just kind of seeing, we're seeing, boy, she's got a different hand than I do. We're going to see kind of like this finger and then the knuckles or the sides of these fingers somewhere in through there. So I'm going to take and make myself almost directly below that stem, maybe a little bit to the left. I'm making myself my first mark. Then I'm going to go to the left of that about 1.5 inches. Somewhere in through there is where the next mark is. I'm going to come all the way up to this stem area. I'm going to give, oops, there goes that, broke that piece of chalk. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a bump. This is kind of her, I think, part of her thumb or thumb knuckle kind of over on that side. I'm going to connect here to here. This is going to be like her wrist area. So I'm going to come down in a diagonal kind of a way, not as far as here, just right before I get to that distance to the left, I'm going to start curving it like this. And then this is her area going into her wrist in through here. And then on the other side we're going to do a bunch of bumps, but I don't want the bumps to be too much or out too far. So first I'm going to just bring her wrist almost up to that glass right in through there, and then I'm going to give myself a marker so I can not go too far. So my marker is going to be right here. This is going to be like her bottom, the farthest part out for her hand. So I'm going to take from here and I'm going to just connect it like that. And then I'm going to do some bumps here, but I need to know how high they go. They're going to go almost all the way up to that horizon line. My first bump, oops is never good for the instructor to say. My first bump is going to be like that. And now I just need to finish this bump and just do 2 more in between, 1, 2. And that's all I'm going to do for her hand. On his, we're going to see his more of his arm and a little bit of his sleeve. I can't demonstrate how he's holding it because it's on the other side. But I'm gonna give you markers. We're gonna connect those markers. So the first marker I'm gonna give you is above the horizon line, just by a little smudge, somewhere in through here. And I'm gonna go all the way down to the bottom right-hand corner of my canvas, come in just maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, something like that. I'm gonna connect here to here. This is gonna be the outside of his hand and his wrist. So I'm gonna take from here, and I'm just gonna give myself kind of a little tiny bump like that. And right about here, this is only maybe about 2 inches away from that stem. That's when I'm gonna start curving it down. So this is gonna be the outside of his hand in through here. The wrist is gonna start somewhere in this area in through here. So this is where we're gonna make it a little bit different of a curve, so like that. And this doesn't have to be super straight, just, you know, that's going to be the side of his hand. His wrist is got a little bit of a bend to it, just a smudge, and then we have a little bit of a sleeve. So you can really have fun with the sleeve is just kind of little ripply edge over there. This is going to be a little bit more difficult of a side, so I'm going to come almost halfway down the stem. So if it starts here, ends here, I'm right about here is where my first marker is going to go. So a little bit less up than half. And I'm going to make a couple of bumps from my horizon line to this finger right, or to that marker in through there. So I have one bump like that, and then I have another bump like that. I've got another bump coming underneath here. So if you go to the right of here, I would say about 1 inch, and then just drop it down just a little bit somewhere in through here. You can, oh, there's 2 bumps. This is going to be like the tip of his pinky, like that, and then another finger like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to right about here. So if this is about halfway left to right, I'm maybe about 3.5 inches over here, somewhere in through here. I'm going to connect here to here. It's the under part of his hand. So I'm going to do one little curve like that. Then I'm going to do the side of the palm of his hand like that. And then I'm going to take here, this is going to be his wrist, something like that. And then I'm going to take my small round and erase a couple of these lines so I don't get confused during the painting process. So just a little bit of water on my brush. I need to erase that because that I didn't need. I'm going to erase this stem part right in through here. This is just water on my brush, and this whole stem part inside her hand. And then we're going to be using the number 4 round for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can make any fiddling adjustments that you feel are necessary. Take out your medium round and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're doing the base coat for our liquid in the glasses as well as the hands. I'm going to be using my number 4 round brush. I'm going to be using black paint and my sky blue, that light blue color. So what I'm going to do for my glasses is I'm using my sky blue as a base for the liquid, because the glasses seem to be frosty and they're reflecting some of the colors, but they definitely have, they're not really see-through a lot, but they're carrying a light blue color to them, so that's what I'm going to emulate. And so I'm coming down from this corner of this glass, I would say about 1 inch, and I'm going to draw myself a horizontal line across this front one that is similar to this top arc in through there, and then I'm going to color in this entire bottom portion with this light blue color. I'm going right over the glass that's underneath, because this one's going to be in front, and I'm going to bring it down to the hand. We're going to have a little stem part of the glass as well later, but this is, and we're going to have all kinds of other stuff on the glass too. I'm going to bring it pretty close to my chalk mark, but I don't necessarily need to bring it all the way, because we're actually going to have a dark edge to the glasses, almost like a silhouetted type of edge to it. So I'm going pretty darn close, but not erasing my guideline all the way because I like to have it visible so I don't make that object too much bigger, and knowing that I have a silhouetted kind of aspect that will be coming allows me the freedom to kind of leave it there a little bit. And then on the other glass, I'm going to have it just a little bit lower than this one. So just maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, and bringing it to the same kind of height over here. And they could be tipped a little bit. It looks like they might be tipped a little bit in the photo. So maybe this side comes just a little bit higher. Maybe they're in the clinking motion and the liquid is moving a little bit. So just that one I put up just a little bit to try and emulate what I'm seeing in the photo. And then again, I'm just gonna paint this whole area in with that light blue. I have a couple of thick spots over here. I just want to take care of them before they dry. And then again, just kind of going right up to that other glass and bringing it right to my outline without necessarily coloring all the way outside of my outline. So just leaving a little bit of that there. And this certainly can help you to you know, reshape the glass if you needed to. So just kind of getting this on in through here. And I'm gonna, now that I've got this, there's gonna be a black area at the bottom of the glass where it meets the stem. So I'm not concerned about the messiness right here where it's meeting the hand right now. And again, we've got lots of stuff on top of these later. So I'm gonna wash and dry my brush. And I'm going to do the rest with black. So first I'm going to just hit my stem. I'm going to use a little tiny bit of water on my brush for the stems because they're small areas and I just want to make sure that I get them the way that I want. So they're really pretty skinny when it comes out from the hand in through here. So I'm going to just start it with like a T type of a shape like this to give myself my my shape that I want. I'm thinking that that's pretty good. And then I will take it and give a little bit of a curve. So the curve almost, I would say, starts maybe about halfway down this stem, and it's pretty gradual, and then it kicks out until it's like a little point at the edge like that. And I'm going to do the same thing, at least I'm going to try and do the same thing on the other side. Starts kicking out about halfway down and then comes out like this. I think I did this right side a little bit bigger than the left side, so we'll just make that left side a little bit bigger to counterbalance. So let's bring this one just a little bit bigger in through here. And hers, I don't need to really do much of anything, just going to give a little line in through here and make it a little bit thicker where it meets her hand. So that one's a little bit easier. And then I'm just going to paint them in with black paint. So I'm going to paint all of the area of the hands with black paint, and then we're going to add little highlights in a future step that are going to indicate form. There's also, she's wearing a bracelet. He's got his wedding ring visible. So I will emulate those later. I'm going to bring this all the way to my chalk mark. Again, I'm using a touch of water on my brush just so I can get these clean edges around the sides. I know that I have a future step too that could certainly help clean up those edges, but I'm not going to be doing a whole heck of a lot on a future step for these, so I'm going to go for a pretty clean edges right now. Right in through here, I'm going to go right above this horizon line and just kind of give this edge to the glass. That might have been out a little too far. This is going to be part I keep going out too far there. I just have this little connector piece where it meets the hand. So it's black in the picture, so I might as well just add it right now. I'm going to paint that, and then I'll just slow down when I come to these fingers. I know that when I'm doing this, it makes a little bit more sense for me to, you know, just slow down when I'm doing these edges, because I do have a tendency to go too fast every now and again. And when I go fast, I don't pay as much attention as to certain things as I probably should. So I know my limitations, and that's definitely one of them, is I've got to slow down sometimes. And when I'm doing these edges, especially when I'm trying to get it to look like a human hand, I definitely want to make sure that I've got everything represented in a good shape, so it doesn't look like she's got, you know, her pinky is too big, or look like her wrist has, you know, is broken or anything like that. I like to just kind of do it so it looks pretty darn natural, and I just need to slow down sometimes to make sure that I take care of that. And so that's what I'm doing right now on my edges. And then I'm going to go ahead and do his. And again, it's just all black. So I could certainly be using a larger brush, especially in these. I'll just pick this up right from here. Especially in these bigger areas. But I know that I can just kind of put a good amount on there and just spread it around, and then just take my time around those edges. So that's just a little expedited way for me to do it, but you can, as you're developing your painting skills, you can certainly modify your processes, and that's one of the little processes that, you know, I like to do, is I don't use a lot of tools. And so if I was using more tools, I would have probably definitely used a bigger brush and then a smaller brush. But right here is where I'm gonna, she had the stem in through here. His is more, let's see, his is more up in this direction. So I'm just kind of emulating, and his is crooked a little bit. This is the black part at the bottom of the glass. So that's that. And then his hand kind of bumps around the glass in through here. So that's that part. Again, this is where I'm slowing down because I know I need to. These are the fingers in through here, so I'm watching my photo. Even though I have my chalk mark, my chalk mark might not be perfect. I might feel that there needs to be some adjustments. When you're using chalk, it is a larger utensil to use, so my lines are definitely not perfect. I see that there's actually another kind of bump in through here. That's probably his little, I don't know, part of his knuckle, I guess. Something like that. I don't think that was totally necessary for me to do, but it's in the photo, so I do it. And then I'm going to go ahead and he's got his hand, I think this stem needs to be just a little wider. And then his little part here, and a finger tip in through here, and then a fingertip in through here. And of course, I'm, you know, as I'm watching the photo, I didn't rely 100% on my drawing. So when you're doing this, if you rely 100% on your drawing, unless you've, you know, projected it and you know everything is exactly where it needs to be, anything can happen. Anything can happen during that drawing process. Things can skew so easily, and you don't even notice. So I definitely refer to the original, you know, whatever my reference is while I'm you know, making these passes with the paint, because paint is a little bit more permanent than my drawing utensil. And down this edge here, I see that there's a couple little extra bumps, so I'm going to just kind of incorporate those. So I went for a basic shape for that drawing, and now as I'm painting it in, I can see that there's a couple extra little nuances, so I'm going to incorporate those. And then just coming down his arm in through here, and then I just need to go ahead and get that other side done. So again, just following my chalk, however, using the photo to continue to guide me. I feel like this should be a little bit higher than that horizon line, up in through here. I continue to use my reference photo, continue to use my guidelines. Anything I can use as assistance during this process, I'll use. You know, there's no shame in using tools to get that painting the way that you want it. It's a difficult process even when you're using tools. So if I have to redraw this or continue to use that photo until the very end, so be it. That's the process for me that allows me to get it to look the way that I want it to look. And whatever process it takes you to get to that end result is your own process. It doesn't have to always be freehand. Draw it first. You can trace it. Whatever works for you to get that process down. And it's a personal choice. It's never cheating. There's no shame in anything. Just do whatever you have to do to get that piece of artwork in a place that you are comfortable with. And then I think that's looking pretty good. So I think I'm going to call it on this step. I'm going to be using my small bright brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put this brush away, take out I think it's the number 2 bright, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what I'm going to do for the next step is I'm going to finish my glasses. I'm going to end the liquid. I'm going to use my number 2 bright brush. I'm going to definitely be using black, white, ultramarine blue, my light yellow, and maybe some of that sky blue again. And if I need to, I might use some red too. If I use any other colors, I'll let you know. So what I'm going to be doing is I want to finish my liquid inside the glasses, and then I'm going to put my rims on and do an exterior kind of silhouette to them. And I also want to put a little bit of shine on these stems in through here. So what I'm going to first do is do my liquid on the inside. I'm going to start with a touch of I'm using definitely my sky blue, touch of sky blue and ultramarine blue. So just a tiny bit of ultramarine blue on my brush. I want this to be a little bit bluer down at the bottom in through here. So I'm going to do it on both glasses, something like this. And then I'm going to fade it up into that light blue color that we had. So I just kind of keep moving it around and moving it up as it's drying. So it gives me a little bit more deeper of a blue color down at the bottom of that cup. There's going to be a little highlight in through here and in through here too, so that's fine if you still have a little lightness down in through there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going into my light yellow color. So the light yellow is going to be up at the top. I'm not going to wash my brush because I want it to kind of transition into it. So I'm going to put a little bit in through here and just kind of rub it around like this. So I'm going to do that on both sides. So just a little bit of that light yellow color right in through there and just kind of rub it around. So a tiny bit of that light yellow on my dirty brush. So it gives it almost a greenish kind of hue, and that's gonna just add to the look of it. So I'm just putting a little bit more of that light yellow in through here. That wasn't light enough for me on the first pass. So something like that, and again, just kind of rubbing it around. Now I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of white paint. I just wiped my brush off on my paper towel, pick up a tiny bit of white paint, give myself a little bit lighter bit up at this top and through here. And again, I'm going to add some additional colors to it in a minute. This is just kind of getting me started with how I want this to appear. So a little bit of white up at the top, in through here. And I'm kind of fading it down into the other colors that we just incorporated. So something like that. Now what I'm going to do while this is kind of drying, I want to add a little bit of a highlight down in that base of that stem. So I'm actually going to use my, what am I going to use? I didn't say I was going to use this color, but I'm going to use that plum color or that lavender color plus white on my brush. So lavender plus white on my brush, and I'm going to put just a little tiny highlight down at this base right above that black mark that I have. So something like this is going to do that. A little bit more white on this side because this side looks a little bit brighter down in through here. And right now I'm just looking for color patterns in the glassware to see, where do I need to modify these colors. Where do I need to add more, take some away? I'm now going to, while this is kind of settling, I want to do the rims. So I'm gonna, what color do I want to do for this? I'm gonna use black plus water, like a lot of water. I'm gonna really water it down. If you see what I'm doing on my palette here, I'm making it thinner and thinner and thinner. So I'm using it in what's referred to as like a wash or a glaze of sorts. So very, very thinned out. I'm using this as my rim maker. So I'm going to take it right on top of my chalk. And of course, if there's any residual chalk later, I can certainly get rid of that. But I'm just using it as a very light, see-through in essence. I'm making these corners kind of in an oval type of way, and then bringing this right across in through there, and just kind of manipulate this a little bit more like that. And the water helps me to kind of keep pulling it and dragging it. I'm just going to use the remnants on my brush for this side over here, because this one doesn't look as necessarily dark as the other one. And if this is too dark for you, you can always go for a gray tone, but I'm gonna just use this. This is just pulling slightly into these corners like this, and almost disappears in the center, but I'll get it to disappear in a minute. So while I've got this darker color on my brush, I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of the watered down black, give myself these kind of like a dark outline of sorts, or a shadow-esque area on the outside of my glass. So I'm gonna kind of push the color towards the edge of that glass. So this for me is easier on one side than it is on the other, because of the way my hand, I'm right-handed, so for me it's easier like on this left side than it is on the right side. So, as I just made a mistake. So as you're doing yours, if you're finding one side is easier than the other, know that you're not alone. This is one of those things that, as you develop your painting skills or your brush skills, you're going to find certain things are easier to do with one hand than they are with the other. So I'm going all the way up towards this edge. And again, I'm just kind of using this as a glaze to give this dark edge to my glass. And again, I'm just bringing this side over in through here. There's a little bit of darkness down towards the bottom of the glass too, so I can just pull a little bit of this in through here. I'm going to work on that center color a little bit more in a minute. And if anything goes wrong, just add a little bit more water to your brush, and you can just kind of push that color back while it's still wet. That helps you to kind of maneuver it into the place that you want it to go. So you can certainly keep fiddling with that. I'm going to put this one on our right glass is going to go in front of this guy. Well, that's too much black, so I just put more water on my brush. I can always add more. It's tough to take it away once it's on there. So I'd rather proceed with caution and have to keep adding layers than to go in too much, too dark, too fast. So for me, I'm just going to keep going slowly until I've got it in the darkness that I want. There is a pretty dark area down in through here. So I'm just going to add that in through there. And again, this is just my watered down black, and I can certainly going to bring it a little bit darker right down in through here like that. I'm going to push this back just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to add some of this darkness at the top. But I think I need a little bit more color in here. So I actually am going to pull in a touch of that light yellow and a touch of red on my brush, and white. So light yellow, red, and white. I just feel like I want a little more oomph for the sunset color in through here. So I just washed my brush and putting a little bit more white on in through here. I didn't feel that it was it had enough color with that yellow and white or the base that I had done. So I feel like I wanted a little bit more of something in through here, maybe a little bit more of that orange. So I'm just playing with the values right now and the color to make it into, yeah, there we go. We got it now. We just needed to play with those colors a little bit to get them into the spectrum that I wanted. So, you know, as you're doing this, I've seen a bunch of photos with these kind of clinking celebratory glasses, and some of them have these really vibrant reflections in them, but these particular glasses just seemed like they had a lot of coolness to them, like they were frosted glasses. So I wanted to emulate that. I just picked up a little bit of white just to get just maybe a little bit more frostiness in through here and softness. That looks pretty good. Before I start adding the top bubbly stuff on here, I just want to make sure I've got this the way that I want it. I feel like I need these edges a little bit darker too, so I'm just picking up a little bit more of that watered down black before I go in on those, the liquid line. This is good in through here, a little bit more in through here. Just bring a little bit more darkness down here. And if you're having difficulty seeing one glass in front of the other, it's probably just because you need more contrast. So more contrast where they're touching each other, right in this line in through here, that's going to help separate the two from one another. So if you've got, you know, areas that are a little bit more difficult to see than others, it probably just means that you need a little bit more contrast. So definitely I need a little bit more darkness down in through here. That's looking pretty good. A little bit of water on my brush just to blend this out just a bit. And again, you can always add more. Oh, you can always add more darkness. You can always add more paint. I'm going to go in for that water line now, or the liquid line. So this is going to be right up at the top. I forgot this little line back here too, so I need to hit that in a minute. But just going to make this pretty darn powerful with the darkness, because that's what I'm seeing in the reference. So that looks good in through there. And then it kind of fades down into the liquid. So there might be some little bubbles or something along here. So I've got water on my brush and I'm just kind of wiggling it, maybe bringing a couple down in through there. I feel like I need a little bit more warmth or shadow on these sides too, so I might end up amping that up a little bit on these sides. I need to get this little area up in through here. So this one up in through here, you can't really see in front. And then I got this water line here. This one almost looks like it's got an ice cube at the top too. So we're gonna see if we can get that little ice cube in there. So again, this is just black plus a little bit of water on my brush. It looks like there's a little bump right in through here, or we've got maybe a little ice cube or something. And then again, just little effervescent stuff. This one's got a little bit more bubbles in it than the other one does, so maybe there is some ice cubes or something in here. But again, watered down black paint is on my brush, so I'm allowing for the transparency of the paint to give me this really interesting and realistic type of effect in through here. So just kind of dotting my brush, just a little tiny bit of water and paint on my brush. It's looking pretty good. I feel like I need a little bit, I'm going to go in for my lavender, a little bit of water and white. So I feel like I need to get a little extra sunsetty tone in through here. So this was, but I had a tiny bit of black on my brush, so that wasn't a good idea. Let's put a little bit more of that lavender color. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more depth in these glasses, so the lavender color I think is going to help me out here. And just give this a little shake in through here, a little slight rub. Yeah, that definitely looks better to me. And I'm going to do the same thing over on this side because I didn't even tackle this edge. There we go. And that looks good. I'm going to put a little bit of this lavender kind of color down in through here. And then I would definitely fiddle with it. I'm going to since I sit so close to the canvas right here, I definitely need to take a look at mine from a distance and see if there's any additional areas where maybe I want to add like a little bit of the sunset colors, or like I feel like I want to get rid of this darkness in through here. It's almost too much for me, so I just add a little bit of white in through there, and then I would just kind of fiddle with it, see if there's any additional thing. Oh, I need to hit this little stem. This is just going to be black and white on my brush. I just need a little tiny highlight down in through here, nothing major, just a little oomph to give you something to say that there's a little highlight there. Maybe a tiny touch of white on the edge. There we go. That's all I'm going to do for that. And then just fiddle with it as much as you want. Get rid of any chalk marks. So I'm going to have to take my brush with a little bit of water, get rid of any chalk marks that are still visible. And then we're going to use this same brush for the next step, so you can wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the hands and the jewelry. I'm going to use my number 2 bright brush. The colors I think I'm going to predominantly be using are black and my lavender color, and maybe a little bit of my light yellow. I haven't decided yet. So what I'm really going to do, I just need to add very minimal highlights to the hands and the sleeve in order to give it just a little bit more of a realistic look, as opposed to it just being flat black. So I'm going to use black plus a tiny bit of my lavender in order to create these highlights. So for instance, in through here, I have her the top of her knuckle and the side of her hand. So I can take just a little bit of this these 2 colors and create the edge of her hand in through here. So I know her top finger's here, I've got the stem behind that, and then this is just the top of her thumb on the other side, so I don't really need to do much to that. I could even bring a little bit of this highlight down this side in through here, giving just a little bit of form to her arm. If I wanted to, if I was feeling frisky and thought that I could handle it, I could definitely take a little bit in through here and just add a tiny little highlight on these knuckles coming in through here. I don't need to do much. Just an itty bitty bit is going to sell the story. And if you did too much, just bring back some of the black and that'll help you with that. I do want to add a tiny bit on her wrist as well. So just a tiny bit of the lavender plus my black, just an itty bitty bit over here on the left hand side. We'll add her jewelry in a minute. I do need to take care of my chalk marks, so I'm going to just wash and dry my brush, put a little bit of water on it just to get rid of, oops, I must have some paint on my brush too. We're going to just do it with a little watered down paper towel. Get my chalk mark to go away. So you can get chalk marks to go away in with a multitude of, you could use an eraser, you could use water, you could use a wet paper towel, whatever works. So that I just wanted to get those gone to make sure that I have it the way that I want. And then I'm gonna maybe just a little bit more on this, bring this way. Yeah, that looks better to me. Like these are her knuckles in through here. And again, the more you do, you don't need to. I think that's the moral to my story, is the less you do, the almost more realistic it's going to look, because it looks like we're just, seeing just a hint of it. So I'm going to do the same thing over on him. I'm going to take a little bit of that lavender plus black, and I've got his hand in through here. Again, I don't want to do much, just a itty bitty bit in through here, maybe to separate out the hand from the glass. It's itty bitty bit, and I don't need to do much. I'm adding more black to my brush right now, so I can just get these to almost fade into the darkness. And then just a little bit maybe on this guy. This little pinky is probably underneath that one, so I'm actually going to put this little pinky with just black on it just to get that to go into the dark, and then maybe just a tiny bit on his in through here, just to give just a little tiny hint, a hint of some form in through there. Maybe a little bit on those knuckles. And again, nothing much. I don't want to distract, so I definitely, I'd rather it all be black than to make it look funky. So I'm just gonna, you know, do just the minimal amount in through here, and then if I feel it went awry, I could certainly bring back black. That'll be your, that's the safety zone. I'm gonna put a little bit in through here, and then just kind of blend it back with some black. And I just keep wiping my brush off to control the quantity of paint on it, like that. And then of course you could, oops, go into your water if you wanted to. You could put a tiny bit on the clothing too. I suppose you could even do different colors on your clothing, whatever you want. Again, I'm just adding a little hint of something in through there. That looks pretty good. Maybe he's got 2 shirts on, something like that. And then I want to do some little jewelry, but I want to get rid of his chalk marks first. So I've got just water on my brush right now, getting rid of these chalk marks. Again, I keep them there until I need them, and chalk for me is a easy drawing tool to help keep me where I want to be the whole time. So the jewelry, I'm just gonna, right now, I think I'm gonna use my, I want a different color. So I'm gonna go with my light yellow and black. So light yellow and black. And she's got, looks like a little beaded type of, oh, I want water on my brush too. Looks like she's got a little beaded kind of bracelet. It comes all the way down to this corner, maybe with these little circles. Definitely not, of course you could use your small brush too, but I don't want to do anything invasive here, so I'm just doing that. I'm going to add actually back a little bit of black, because that's a little bit too dominant for what I wanted to go for. So just add a little bit of black back, just the hint of it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on his. He's got his, this is his ring finger right here. So it's going to come, or I think I need to change my highlight a little bit, because the ring is somewhere in through here. So I think I need to bring this highlight up a little bit. Hold on. I'm going to put my lavender plus white. So if this is his ring, let's see. Just make sure I got this right here. So it kind of looks a little out of place in the photo, but again, I have to trust the photo. So it's somewhere in here, I guess, is where we've got it going on. So trust the photo, trust the photo. And then I feel like it should be one way, but the photo tells me otherwise. So I'm going with what the photo tells me. And this is a little bit of my light yellow plus black. It tells me, but the photo tells me that this ring is somewhere right here. Trust it. Just trust it is what I have to tell myself. Trust the process. Okay, that's where it tells me it's supposed to go, so we're going to put it there. And then if you wanted to do any other little fiddling adjustments, I'm going to check that ring just to make sure I'm seeing it correctly. And then we're going to be using our small round brush for the next step. So you can put this one away, take out a small round, and get ready for the next step. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I'm going to use my number 4 round. I am going to be signing this in the bottom left-hand corner with dark blue paint. I like to sign mine with my initials, but you could certainly sign yours with your first name or the date. You could make up a special symbol. You can sign it whatever way that you would like, because it's your painting And that's what you get to do. You get to sign it whatever way that you would like. And that's going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a very romantic type of painting, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.